let's start with the most basic question, which is, Jonathan Haggard, what is Duck Soup?
We help growing brands to expand, primarily with our physical locations. So as brands are growing, a lot of times they don't realize it. They focus on their product, they focus on their clients, which is what they're supposed to be doing. And, they need their physical locations, if it's a retail store, a restaurant, if it's an office building, healthcare, something like that. So we help them from the beginning early on to strategize on how those physical locations can be expanded and optimized in the most efficient way, so that way they can focus on their bottom line and their clients.
What kind of brands are you usually working with?
Just growing brands, whether it's going from one location to 5, going from 5 to 50, going from 100 to 500, just local brands going regional brands going national.
So when we were talking offline, one thing that you made mention of is that you guys are not a construction company. And at the same time, you do construction for your clients. So help me understand why you want to differentiate yourself from just being a construction company that's able to help do these builds, do these refreshes, do these remodels. There's something deeper, right? So what's the thing that sets you guys apart specifically?
Yeah, I think the value added is strategy. We can take a different client if they're expanding. If we can work with them early on in the conversation and help them to strategize what they're trying to accomplish from their locations and how they're expanding, we can save them hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars, timelines. If we can get a store open up 6 months, 3 months sooner than what would otherwise be, that could save them hundreds of thousands of dollars. And ultimately, at the end of the day, what we give them by strategizing is we get a full game plan that gives them certainty, which is what they really want. Because if a retail store is opening up, their plan is to open up July 1st, they're getting their fixtures delivered, they're getting all their merchandise delivered, they're hiring for that store. If that's pushed back 3 months, what do you have a whole staff of 20 people that you've hired, and their expectation is to start July 1st, and now they're starting in maybe September, maybe October, and there's so much uncertainty. What we do is we strategize with clients early on to give them the certainty, so that way they know what they can rely on.
How did you get into this?
Oh, it's just an accident. It's just sort of happened over time.
Tell me the story.
Well, I came out of college and I was working at Bank of America, and I thought, I had a white collar job now, and I worked construction in high school and college, and I thought, I'm done with that. I'm just doing the white collar stuff now. But I quickly realized that it was miserable. I hated it. It was just high pressure sales, trying to get people to sign up for credit cards, and just didn't feel like I was helping anybody. I felt like I was just trying to shove a product. I was being told to shove a product down client's throat. So I wanted to help people. So I thought, okay, well, I'll go to law school and help defend people, or, fight for justice, or these things. So set up my law school applications, and I had 9 months before law school started. I needed to do something. So I started a construction company. I was going to do facilities maintenance work and just answer the phone, whatever the client says, just say yes and find a way to do it. And that's just kind of how it started. And then by the time law school came around, I was already had a track record of, I felt like I was helping people. So just continued to do that.
But at what point when you were doing the construction thing did you see the need for, we got to go deeper with the clients that we're working with? It's not enough for us to just do the work, turn the wrench, swing the hammer, but to actually be involved in the strategy. Because it takes a real business mind to even have that thought. And tell me if I'm wrong, but I would imagine that what's probably more normal for a construction company is just thinking about their own profitability, their own ability to secure a contract, rather than be thinking about the business's need in their strategy to expand and how construction fits into that. So how did you start thinking that way?
Yeah. So the more problems we took care of for our clients, they kept giving us more problems, but I kept noticing the same trend was it's all reactive. They're just giving us problems. And we have the ability to strategize and solve the problem, but it would be so much easier, so much better, so much more beneficial if we could go upstream and get involved in the conversation, the equation, before it's a problem. So, because now we know the pattern and we can anticipate it. because everything is just reactive. Everyone's just sort of, I hate to say it, just kind of looking out for themselves and kind of just responding to day-to-day activities. When I see such a need, such a benefit of just going upstream and being strategic about things.
What's your biggest frustration with the construction industry?
It's responsive. It's they wait for things to happen and then they respond.
Versus being
like planning it out, like having meaningful conversations, like really getting to know the client and what they want to do, asking the key questions, understanding their needs, talking with the client from a place of understanding of what their core needs are and knowing how to get there.
So you were sharing a story with me yesterday. Was it the National Geographic one?
Yeah.
So tell me about that story, because I think that highlights one of the real consistent issues in your space in regards to people not being accountable, people not concerned about meeting deadlines, going over budget, which affects the client tremendously. But you have a crazy story about how you saw a different solution and you counted the costs about how to solve it to help them out.
Yeah, well, I mean, so what we do is we set the standard that it's going to get done regardless, right? And it's even when we're faced with frustrating situations, it almost seems like we're fighting against other people. But I'll tell you a story. So we're remodeling some bathrooms for National Geographic in Washington, D.C. And it was a 3-week project. We got to a certain point and it was supposed to turn it over on Monday morning. And the client kept saying, yeah, okay, just want to check in. Monday we're good. And like, yeah, that's the deadline. But my site superintendent called me on Thursday and Friday, and he said, I think the tile guys are intentionally wasting tile so they won't have to work through the weekend to get us open on Monday. And sure enough, he said Friday morning he called and he did the math on how much tile was left, and they'd run out of tile. They were going to run out of tile. So I called the owner of the tile company and I said, look, we have to get this done. I just set the clear standard. Like,
how are they intentionally running out of tile?
Well, so it was 2-foot pieces, and they would cut they would need a small piece, and they would cut the small piece and go install that piece. And they have 80% of the tile still remaining, but they would just throw it away. I mean, that could be used for another cut for somewhere else. So, I mean, it was like, I don't know, 200-300 square feet of just wasted tile just from, well, lack of foresight maybe they were intentionally doing it on purpose just so they wouldn't work the weekend. Regardless, that's what they were doing. So we had to solve the problem because our standard was like, we're not going to go back to the client and say, okay, I'm sorry, client, like your deadline that we agreed to, we're now just going to no, we're not going to apologize. We're going to fix the problem. We're going to do what we said we were going to do. I essentially told the tile subcontractor, like, either his guys are going to stay through the weekend and finish the job, or he's fired and I'm going to go down there myself with a couple of guys. And he kept complaining that he couldn't get the tile. So I said, well, where is it? He says, I don't know. Well, let's call. Like, there's always a solution. So he calls the distributor and he calls me back and he says, sorry, man, I can't do it. The only location they have is in Jacksonville, Florida. And we're in Washington, D.C. I said, are they open Saturday? Because at this point, this is Friday, like 2 p.m. He says, well, yeah, they're open Saturday, 9 to 12, but it's in Jacksonville, Florida. I said,
this is on Friday.
This is Friday, 2 p.m. So I said, okay. His name is Melvin. I said, Melvin, I need you to have your full crew there working Saturday and Sunday. I'm going to get the tile. I was like, yeah, I'm going to get the tile. We're going to fly down to Jacksonville. We're going to rent a U-Haul, load it up with the tile, and we're going to drive it back. It'll be here Saturday night, Sunday morning, probably like 2 a.m. Like when I say we're going to do something, that means we're going to do it. We're not talking about excuses. We're talking about solutions. So sure enough, I called one of our project managers and I said, hey, either I'm going down there or you're going down there, but somebody has to go. And we negotiated and he got the next week off, but he flew down to Jacksonville, loaded up the tile, brought the tile back. We worked through the weekend, installed the tile and delivered it. But the point of the story is not just that we set the standard, we're going to do what we said we're going to do. It's also that so much of that is avoidable. And there's so many situations where it's subcontractors pointing at each other, or permit office, or architect, engineer, client's expectations, that having those conversations and getting things out front makes the whole thing go smoother. So one of my main objectives is to get upstream and have those conversations earlier on, so that way we're not just reacting and responding and doing all these crazy fire drills.
Do you know what time he got into Jacksonville on Friday night?
We flew down, I think it was like 7 or 8 p.m., flew down, probably got there 11 p.m., got up the next day, 8 a.m., went to U-Haul.
And then drove, 14 hours back or something like that?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Wow. Not a lot of people are doing that. So you did this to make sure that you were on budget and on time with a delivery, with what you already agreed to. What's normally happening in your industry as far as what's the hit rate for a construction company doing work that you're doing to actually be to meet a deadline and to not have to do a change order?
50-50. It's typically when contractors talk about, people have this all the time in their house, and you sort of run into contractors. It's a deadline is just sort of suggestion. It's like, oh, we say we're going to deliver on July 1st. It's like, okay, prepare for October 1st. It's just so standard that things get delayed. And what ends up happening is they just point the finger. Oh, well, it was the tile guy. Oh, it was the plumber. Oh, it was the electrician. Or, oh, the county didn't. There's a million excuses, and it just becomes this finger pointing game that drives me nuts.
So if I was hiring a company to do some sort of remodel or something like that, on average, how much do you think I should be budgeting percentage-wise in addition to what was already on that contract?
I would advise 20 to 50% above what they
20 to 50%?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Contractors always, I hate it. It drives me nuts. But there's so many contractors that will give a price knowing already in their head that they're going to give you change. Oh, well, that's a built-in change. I'm going to do a change order for that. And just...
They already know on the front end for a lot of them?
Yeah.
What on earth?
And it's so frustrating because it's typically you think, okay, well, I'll get 3 bids and go with the lowest bid. But the lowest bid, more often than not, they're already planning on that increase they're going to give you.
Well, so I'm imagining as an entrepreneur myself, if I have a brand that requires physical locations, and I'm trying to make sure that I'm doing this in a way that's effective and quality and also efficient, I'm working with a certain amount of capital here. That sort of uncertainty would drive me crazy.
Yeah.
Isn't that, am I crazy for thinking that?
Yeah, absolutely.
So what does that mean for these brands if it's not done correctly?
Well, on a smaller scale, with the local business owners that we work with, I see it that it ruins their business. That they've put all their savings, some will get mortgages to put it into their little restaurant or their local business. And then when the price goes up 50% and the deadline moves back 6 months, they were expecting that revenue to come in. It is very disruptive to local businesses. And then similar to regional businesses, a lot of times by the time we deal with national brands, they already understand, they've built in that cushion. But my proposition is let's just go a different way where X means X, Y means Y. When we say we're going to deliver by this date for this price, we deliver on it.
Okay, so I want to know for duck soup. By the way, what does duck soup mean? Why name it duck soup?
Yeah, when we started the company, we were looking for a name, right? We were just kind of messing around with ChatGPT and Google, and what's our client really want? That was the perspective. How do we have our name matches what the client really wants? I just remember the old, I don't know if you remember this, I think Staples had the easy button. That was easy. I was that's something like that. Just client wants a project that's just simple and easy. How much of a breath of fresh air would that be if you had a construction project that was just just simple and easy? So I just typed that into ChatGPT, and one of the things that came up was an old expression from the 1920s. It was duck soup. So back in the 1920s, duck soup meant something was just simple and easy. I'll take care of it. It's duck soup, and no worries. No problem.
Easy peasy.
Yeah. So then from there, I was okay, there's only two types of construction projects. There's your headache construction projects, and then your duck soup projects.
which almost no one's experiencing duck soup,
Correct.
easy projects.
Yeah. It was so hard for people even to believe, like to wrap their head around. It's so uncommon. Right?
So you're really, I mean, because when we're talking about construction, it's hard to come out of the commoditization category of there's, construction companies are a dime a dozen, but what you're really doing is you're trying to really reinvent the standard of how to actually do this for brands.
Yeah. I mean, I joke with people that I'm trying to unreinvent the wheel.
What do you mean by that?
Well, some people, I mean, the wheel is a wheel. It's a great thing. It rolls. Like, it goes over and over. But so many people have made it so complex and have put their own agenda on it that, it's become this convoluted thing, people trying to reinvent the wheel. So I'm trying to take it back to, the basics of, okay.
Unreinvent the wheel.
Yeah, take it back to the very basics, okay? And, really get to know the client and what their objectives are. Okay, you want 5 new stores over the next 12 months. Why? And have those deep conversations. Okay, well, you want this sort of this because this is going to drive your revenue here, and inside of that, you need this, and that you really unlock the clarity of what they're trying to do, and then just bare bones. Okay, we'll deliver this store by this date, this store by this date, this store by this date, and actually deliver on the basics of what they're trying to accomplish.
And what is your current hit rate when it comes to your ability to stay on time without change orders for your clients?
It's over 98%. Over 98% of our projects finish on time with no change order.
So the industry standard is less than 50.
It's currently a crapshoot. It's maybe yes, maybe no, probably not going to happen. And we're at 98, a little over 98%.
How on earth do you have that much consistency?
Well, it's so simple because we just set the standard. It's when we say it's Monday, and when we hear a problem back, we think of the solution. So it's so easy just to deliver a problem and say that's an excuse. That's a reason out. Oh, well, I'm sorry, Mr. Customer, this happened. No, we don't do that. We deliver on the standard of, no, there's a solution. It's our job to find the solution. Most people just don't want to do that.
Wow. You take full accountability.
Yeah.
How do you also, but what happens when a subcontractor is, you can't control the subcontractors and how they run their business. How do you handle that?
Well, but it goes back to strategies because for everything, there's another thing. I mean, we in that situation, we had a subcontractor for the tile. They messed up. It wasn't our mistake. It was their mistake. But we still held them accountable. I said, okay, no, we'll get the tile. We'll fly to Jacksonville. We'll bring it back. And by the way, if your guys aren't going to work the weekend, we'll work the weekend. So it's just sort of calling their bluff in a way.
How much do you guys rely on subcontractors?
Well, we try not to at all. So we've brought in plumbing as a trade. We brought in electrical. So everything from concrete, floors, walls, drywall, painting, doors, windows, ceilings, plumbing, electrical, every trade that we can, we've brought in-house. So that way we're not reliant on someone else who's going to make excuses and not deliver.
So one of the ways that you're able to guarantee an over 98% success rate and staying on budget and on time is because, no pun intended, but you got the whole thing soup to nuts. You're not trying to sub out things and allow other people to possibly make that mistake. You're taking full accountability of a project A to Z.
Correct. Yep. Brought it all in-house.
And that's not common.
No. I'm not aware of anyone else that does it.
What's the standard? Is the standard just to sub out everything for most companies?
Yeah. Yep. It's a model. It's effective in ways, but I think it creates problems. I mean, it's paper contractors where you're just working the phone and working the keyboard and it just creates more distance from the actual project.
That's amazing. So your expertise we talked about offline. Your expertise, we broke it down to 4 different categories of things that you guys are particularly competent in. Number 1 is the actual expansion strategy, helping your clients map out, if they want to do a rollout or they have X dozen or even couple hundred locations they need to do a rollout for, helping them actually develop the strategy for that. The second was UX optimization. So really making the user experience of a location something that is actually going to increase your client's bottom line, which is extremely strategic. The third is financial efficiency. So how do you do a project in a way that is financially efficient for your client? So it's increasing their bottom line, decreasing expenses. And then finally, team management fluidity. How do you do these rollouts or help your clients figure out how to do a rollout or expansion project? And then how to operationalize that, how to maintain that. I don't hear any construction company thinking about those four things ever. Like you really are rising above the crop of just being a doer and an executor and being a strategist and a consultant and a partner for your clients.
Yeah, I mean, that's the objective. I mean, that's what we're trying to do. That's why we're trying to reinvent the wheel, take it back to the client. What does the client really need? And let's deliver on that.
So the first category, expansion strategy, you have a story about something that you've done with a client called Ulta Beauty. I want you to paint the picture of how you helped them with their expansion strategy.
Yeah, they were doing a salon remodel for across, I think it was across the states. I don't know how many locations it was, maybe 200. And there's a few in our area, so we offered to do those. I think it's 12 or 15. And they went well. We got the schedule, we got the products, we got the scope, we executed on it. And then everything was good for a couple of months, and then we heard back, and then it was like, okay, well, there's some other areas of the country where we're having a hard time getting people to fulfill on what we're asking them to do. So we said, okay, sure, yeah, we can do those areas, and then they just expanded out where they kept finding holes where people just couldn't deliver. So we ended up doing, I think, about 65 by the end of the year.
So what were you doing exactly for them?
It's a salon remodel. So the Ultas, they have a lot of merchandise in the front, and then the back, they have a salon, cut hair, and that area was getting a 3-4 day facelift.
Awesome. And what did that do for them when you guys were able to solve that problem?
Well, we gave them, loads of clarity. There's inside of that world, I think of it as two different clients, and we have to keep both of them in mind. One of them is corporate, who's paying the bills and setting the directive, and they have their metrics on, each year when we do a remodel, they'll expect so much increase in revenue, 10, 20, 30%, and that's the motivation for why they're doing these refreshes. But then there's also the other client, that's the local salon manager. Debbie has been there for 5 years, and she's going to be there for another 10 years, and that's her little home away from home, and that's where she lives. So let's keep both of those in mind. So we have to deliver on corporate's vision of cost and execution and quick turnaround in that time frame, but then also the local salon manager, it's like we're disrupting her lives. We're shutting down her salon for 3 days. So we have to keep her in mind and deliver on the timeline so that way she can get back to work and taking care of her clients.
I want to test your expertise. Can I?
Sure.
I'm going to put you on the spot. I'm going to give you a few questions here. The first question is, so I'm a brand. I'm looking to do expansion with physical locations. And first question that I have is, how far apart should physical locations actually be from each other? How far is too far? How close is too close?
There's loads of metrics that people can dive into it deeply. It's based on statistics for the population and their income and what their likely spend is. So it depends on the product, who's buying it, and who's in that geographic location.
So is that stuff, if you're involved in the conversation with a client, or those are the things that you're also helping them think through?
It depends. Yeah. So if it's a local, someone going from one location to 5 locations, yes, we're more involved in those conversations. By the time it becomes someone going from 15 to 50 locations, it's a little bit of a different conversation, because they're usually already thinking that way because they've already gone through that growth pattern. And then by the time they're 100 to 500, they already have a system.
They're already solid on
process,
that.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this too. When does expansion start hurting existing locations?
You don't want to sell against yourself. That's a concern, right? You don't want to go next door. Geographically, if you have clients that are shopping in your location,
mm-hmm.
That makes a circle or a hub, and you don't want to go inside of that, or you're going to be selling against yourself in a way. As far as the retail side goes, our main benefit added is helping them to save on cost and time for their new location. So they have a whole system typically that goes through before that, because once they find a good geographic location, okay, like we're in the west side of town, we want to go to the east side of town, right? Then they usually have to go through a lease process where they have to find a good location. That's a good time for us to get involved, because if it's a clear cut, okay, this is the place we want, we negotiate a lease, they're good. But typically there's a little bit of a dialogue that goes back and forth where we can help a lot, because anytime you're signing for a new lease, typically there's going to have to be some alterations. Moving walls, moving sinks, moving outlets, painting, sealing. I mean, there's the floors. Each one of those things drives cost, and the sooner we're involved, the better, because what we see a lot, and it's frustrating clients and causes them thousands of dollars and months on their timeline, is if we're not involved in that conversation early on, architect and engineers get involved, and the architects and engineers might call out something that isn't necessarily necessary, but it's going to cost them more money. For example, they sign a lease for a new place, and they have to have 2 new sinks for the health department, but where the architect and engineer put those new sinks is not ideal. It could be here, but they've put it there. It could be $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 of cost to move those sinks. That's not completely necessary, and it adds to the timeline with permits and inspections and everything.
Yeah, want to avoid that for sure. Well, how about this? Why would you say speed matters more than perfection and expansion, or which matters more?
Yeah, I mean, not perfection. I mean, excellence and quality is key, but take it back to the user experience. They're trying to take care of their clients, right? So if they're selling t-shirts, their goal is to sell as many t-shirts as they can. That's it. So they don't need the Taj Mahal of stores if they don't need the Taj Mahal of stores. It just depends on what you're selling. And I mean, if they're selling jewelry, it might be a different scenario, right? So everything's built around what's important to them. So perfection, no. Quality and excellence is part of the dial to move up and down based on their needs. I mean, we deal with a lot of retail stores that they just have concrete floors, just bare bones, because they don't need anything else. But speed's very important, because what's the revenue lost if you open up 6 months from now as opposed to now? I mean, if a store is selling $100,000 of merchandise a month, that's $600,000 of revenue that they've lost if they open up 6 months from now as opposed to today.
Yeah.
So speed is crucial. Speed is very important.
So you talked about UX. I'm curious about how UX in a physical location can affect a brand's revenue. You have a story specifically about a project you did with Kay and Zales for some of their jewelry stores, where you got invited in to be a part of a UX, uplift rollout, and you guys saw that it actually affected their revenue pretty significantly after you did that. So walk me through, what was the problem specifically with those locations? How many were you serving, et cetera?
Yeah, specific problem, and it's the same as universal problem, is as a retail store ages, its sales typically go down. It's new store, sales go up for the first year, and then they start to slowly decline. The basic theory is that the store starts to look older. You get little dings on the wall, you get little scuffs on the floor, the lights start to dim, whatever it is, the store gets older, it's less attractive, people spend less. So Kay and Zales, brilliant company, and they see this. We're going to start doing refreshes. So we have a 1 week refresh, new wallpaper, new lights, new carpeting, and within a week the store looks great. And their sales go up, I think it's 20 or 30% for the first year following the remodel. So a simple little investment, just a little thing, little facelift on the store, takes sales up 20, 30% in just the first year.
That is crazy. Because that little investment's going to last for a few years.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
How long does it usually go between a refresh? How much time is elapsed?
It always depends some. It's, 5 to 10 years is the sort of like expected life of the uptick. Then things start to balance out again.
I would imagine they probably spent way less on the remodel or the refresh than what they made in those 30% sales increase.
Yeah. No, it almost always is big. Yeah.
How many locations do you guys do with that?
I think about 120 over 3 years.
That's insane. Over 3 years?
Yeah.
Wow. My goodness. Okay. Let's talk about UX a little bit. What are the biggest things that brands miss when it comes to the UX of the customer visiting that location, and how that affects the bottom line of those brands?
Yeah, well, I mean, ultimately their client wants to feel good. I mean, there's tons of marketing. It's just like, marketing is all about getting the client to feel good, and then they're willing to spend money. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it starts from the outside. I mean, from the parking lot, as they're walking in, the storefront, the sign, even the simple experience of just opening the door. What does that feel like? People don't register. Oh, I feel good when I open the door, but like those things matter. As they walk through the door, the flow of it. I mean, thankfully there's a lot of good research on how you lay out the merchandise, so we're not really involved in that. But what does the floor look like? What does it just feel like? The lighting is huge. I've seen a lot of stuff over the last 2 to 5 years where new lighting in a store really livens it up and gets people to be in the right place. Yeah, just overall, like, what does a client feel when they're in a store? It's huge.
What's the thing that most brands overlook, though, that they don't even think about?
I'd say lighting and flooring. Those are the two.
Really?
Yeah.
Tell me more. Like what? Give me an example of how they drop the ball with that.
The most common thing in the world is just like gross fluorescent lights. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them are even aging and buzzing, and they get that less flickering yellowish tint. And like, if you just redid your lighting from old fluorescent lights to just a crisp, clean LED, I think it would be a huge, huge benefit. Something basic on the floors. I mean, floors are kind of case specific, but people look at the merchandise, but the floors are always in their peripheral. So if it's a crummy floor, if it's wore out, I think that just gets on people. Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense. I know how I feel going into, I remember, I think it was for one of our kids. We have 4 kids. And we went to a different hospital because our insurance changed for the third one. And I was like, the paint looked like it was last painted in the 90s. The lighting was more yellow, more dim. There's like all these little details that just added up to me. I feel like we're in a lower quality hospital right now, and we didn't go to that hospital for the 4th kid. We went to the other one again. So they lost our business because, especially for something that serious as far as going through a medical operation, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So those details do communicate something.
They do, and well, that highlights an example of, I think a lot of companies forget their 2 customers. Because a lot of hospitals, one of their customers is just the insurance company. It's corporate. That they say, oh, well, it doesn't matter what the walls look like. Insurance company never sees it. But then they forget about the other customer. It's the people actually coming in with their family for an important event.
Right.
So you have to keep both customers in mind.
Have you ever worked with a client that you were like, oh my gosh, the locations lack brand consistency?
Oh, yeah.
You don't have to say them by name.
Yeah.
But what have you seen that do to a brand by not having a very consistent feel from location
I mean,
to
back
location?
to user experience, I think it just confuses people. It's like, wait. I came in this store to get this thing, and it's like, but it's not the same as, I think it's just confusing for people. I guess it is a little fine line. You don't want it to be cookie cutter so that they feel like they're in the exact same place, and it's like, okay, I'm in the Truman Show, but at the same time, you don't want to be so different. You want to have some consistency as well, so.
I think I'm just seeing your Chick-fil-A cup right now too. I'm thinking that you enjoy, here you are traveling from Virginia and it's not the first time you've ever heard of Chick-fil-A coming here to Nebraska. So you're probably getting that Chick-fil-A breakfast thinking, okay, there's going to be a consistency at this one, just like there is in the one in Virginia or Oklahoma or wherever. And because they have that consistency in their location, it communicates trust.
Absolutely.
It communicates credibility.
Absolutely. And I think Chick-fil-A is a great brand, a great example that they get it, because it's consistency of everything. It's not just the food. It's not just that it tastes the same. It's that I drove through and I knew that the drive-through was going to be the same. I mean, Chick-fil-A is a little bit different from a lot of others because they have the two split up, and it's like it can get difficult around lunch times. But like everything about the entire flow was the same as every other Chick-fil-A that I go to. And as a user, it makes me feel certain. Like I can trust Chick-fil-A to deliver on what I need right now.
So that's cool that you as someone who's helping with these projects, you're thinking with that mindset too of making you're really not just thinking about the brand, but you're thinking about the customer who's going to be showing up at that brand location.
Yeah, because that's important. My customer has a customer. My customer's customer is important to my customer. Therefore, my customer's customer is very important for me. I need to keep both of them in mind. My goal is to serve my customer. His goal is to serve his customer. It's a complete flow. We're all working in alignment.
I want to talk about financial efficiency because what really matters to your customer is their revenue.
Yeah,
and making sure that they're not overspending. And you said too, like I asked you, what one word would you want your brand to be known for? Do you remember what you said yesterday? What that one word is?
I'm pretty sure it's certainty.
Certainty. Yeah. Why does certainty matter for your customers?
I think that's the biggest need. I think that's the biggest gap that they're not getting elsewhere. Like that's what we can deliver. When we set a standard and we say, yeah, we'll deliver on this, we want to offer them the certainty that like, yes, that's what they will get.
So tell me about the Rite Aid story. So you helped Rite Aid they were going through bankruptcy at the time, and they had to do, really was it a rollout of changing, their signage or whatever on their locations. Tell me the story of what happened there.
Yeah, I forget some of the exact details. I think it was they were losing their pharmacy license through the bankruptcy process, and so by a certain date, they had to remove the word pharmacy legally from all of their locations, like in all forms. Like if it was a big sign by the street, it was on the storefront, or if it was a little window sticker, like pharmacy was supposed to be removed from everything.
And in what time frame did they have to do this?
Oh, they had it was a little bit staggered from the different states, but it was like within 30 days, they had to have 650 locations.
Within 30 days?
Yeah.
650 locations?
Yeah.
That sounds stressful. If I'm the brand, I'd be stressed.
Yeah, well, so that's when we were getting the calls, and I think that they were calling a lot of different people in this region and that region, and I said, no, just send me the list. Like, we can take care of all of it. And I think that they were expecting, like, okay, well, we have to do this, we have to do that, and like we'll have to get a local guy here and a local guy there, and it would just be a lot of phone calls, and I'll have this guy do this one location. It's like, no. Take the whole list. We'll send out our crews. We'll take care of the entire list. It'll be the same guy. We'll route out 30 locations for this guy. So this guy will do all 30 of these locations. He'll deliver more consistently because it's the same guy doing 30 locations as opposed to if you calling Bob in this town and Joe in this town and Jim in that town. Let's handle the whole thing. And we did it for like half of the price that they were expecting.
And how much time did you get it done?
We had it done in like 3 weeks.
3 weeks, half the time, consistent product all the way through.
Yeah. Because thankfully we had the conversation early on, because then we can strategize. I was able to ask, okay, what's going on? What's the objective? And really dig down to what they were trying to accomplish. And that's when I knew, like, okay, I know how to deliver on this. If you can trust me, like, just give me the whole list, I'll execute better than you're expecting right now.
Yeah.
This is what I can do. But I was only able to get there because he was able to answer the questions that I had for him.
So map out the strategy for me. How'd you route it? How did you coordinate travel? How much time did these guys stay on the road? Where did they sleep? Like, map out the whole thing for me.
Like, I think that more or less they were expecting, okay, 650 locations. I need 650 different people. Or maybe it would be a little bit less. Like, so if it's that's what Rite Aid is thinking, you're saying? Yeah. So, I mean, like, maybe it might be a little bit less. So maybe like around the Pittsburgh area,
Yeah.
Maybe one guy does 8 locations. So maybe it would have been a little bit less than that. But I think that the general thought was in each one of these locations, I have to find someone to do this and then explain to them the specifics of what they're doing and then follow through and make sure that they are doing it, executing to the specifics and so forth and so on. Our approach was, okay, we get the full list with the addresses, use AI, plug it into ChatGPT, and map out 8 different routes, evenly distributed, so that way we can have one guy do a 30-store route starting from roughly the DC area and going through Maryland and then West Virginia. He goes up to Pittsburgh, does this loop around Pittsburgh, and then comes back to the DC area over, I don't know what it was, 30 stores over 6 days or 8 days or something like that. So we had 8 different routes, and we sent out 8 different guys and had them pull a lift with them. So that way, if it's a store out high up outside, they already have the lift with them, as opposed to delivering lifts to all the different locations. So it's just a more efficient way of, okay, we'll mobilize a guy, train him on the process, and just let him go, and be autonomous in his route as he does it.
How far did he have to travel?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. So that route from there to Pittsburgh would probably be round trip, maybe a little over 1,000 miles with all the zigzags along the way.
Did he like that project?
Oh, the guys loved it. Yeah, they
Really?
loved it. Yeah. Because they had clear direction, and they could go as fast or slow as they wanted. And I think it became fun to them. I think we gave them a little bonus per location. I think it just became fun to them. It was like, okay, well, I did 2 yesterday. Let me see if I can do 3 today. Let me see if I can do 4 the next day. Just was a good job.
That's amazing. And you helped strategize that whole map.
Yeah.
How long did that strategy take you to figure out?
I remember working on it like my family was it was in July. We went to the beach or something. I remember staying up till like 2 or 3 a.m. a couple of nights in a row, helping to kind of map some of it out. And we had 2 or 3 other people working on it as well. But yeah, I know it took some time mapping it out and making sure that we had to cross-check it also. Every now and then on the spreadsheet, there was one that was like listed in the Philadelphia area and it was really in Pittsburgh area, and we had to make sure that it got taken care of. But it took a little bit of time.
That's incredible. It feels like a total battle strategy you're mapping out.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of logistics. Yeah.
And not a lot of, I mean, as a guy not in the construction space, not a lot of construction companies are doing that type of strategy.
Yeah, I mean, I guess in a sense it was less hammers and wrenches and more logistics.
Yeah, because a construction company is obviously going to have strategy in regards to the location that they're working on, but not in regards to like, how are we going to map out the whole logistical operation for all these locations over these 4 weeks. Yeah,
well, I think so many companies will just say, oh, well, we don't do that. And that's just not our approach at all. It's like, what does the customer want? What does the customer need? We're going to find a solution from there.
Wow. So you were able to cut the price in half. I'm sure they were pretty excited about your ability to do that. Everyone wins. They're happy. Your team's happy. You guys are happy. Well, let's talk about the final expertise here is the team management and fluidity. And so I'm thinking about the CVS rollout in regards to, I think they were doing like a whole different checkout system or something like that. Tell me the story, what you guys did there.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was 2020, 2021, maybe, I don't know, 2019, I forget now. But it was when they started installing self-checkouts, they're trying to cut their labor costs. I think their labor costs could come down like 15, 20%. So it just became a no-brainer for self-checkouts. And we approached that in a similar way. I mean, we got the call to do, I think, like 13 locations in our area. And I said, sure, yeah, we can do those. What else do you have? And they said, oh, well, in Virginia, we have 52. I'm like, okay, that's great. We can do those. What else do you have? And they said, oh, well, I think Maryland's close. I think we have 38 in Maryland. I said, okay, that's great. We can do those. What else? And it just kind of went from there. Eventually, I just like, yeah, just give me a spreadsheet. Let me see if I can help you. Like, let me strategize. So then I think we put together 3 crews to start. Again, we mapped that out similar way. So that's the same crew so that they know what they're doing, and they're doing this store today, that store, yada, yada, yada. gives the client so much better results, so much more consistent results if it's the same crew and they know what they're doing, as opposed to training and following up on a new crew every night.
Client is hiring you guys for doing either a remodel or refresh or a completely new build. How do you help them think through maintenance after that? Are you guys helping do the actual maintenance ongoing after that, or how does that work?
Yeah, so we do some maintenance. Again, it goes back to what does the client want and need. I mean, we try to make sure that they're aware. Yeah, we'll not just build your store, but it's an ongoing user experience. Like, we succeed when you succeed. We need you to continue to be a successful business. The upkeep of your company, of your physical locations, very crucial to you maximizing your profit, maximizing your bottom line. So we're available to do that. So that's the ongoing process of, we'll build out your location, we'll help you with the maintenance and upkeep, and then, plan 5, 10, 15 years. You're going to need some sort of refresh, remodel, keep it up to date so that your clients keep coming back.
I feel like a client's pushback on that would be, okay, but having you guys help run our maintenance would be, helpful. It'd be off of our mind, but how can we be sure that like your maintenance process is continually in alignment with like our culture or what our goals are? Is that part of what you guys are doing too? Is just continuing, like, you're really looking at these things as long-term relationships?
100%
with your clients.
Yeah. It's just dialogue. As long as the clients is being honest with like their expectations, we can craft a strategy to deliver on what they're trying to accomplish.
Cool.
Yeah.
Let's talk about culture, because your team culture, I think, is pretty unique. I mean, you, and now I've observed this, but you're in the world, so you understand it a little bit more. But in the construction space, you're typically not getting like Ivy League, graduates who are doing the actual construction. But typically it's all blue collar. But oftentimes you're also having people that have come out of incarceration. They can't get a job anywhere else. People that have just really difficult past. Not always, but it's common, right? Is that true?
Yeah, no, we get a whole mix. I mean, the construction world, it's a fun world. It's exciting, but it can be complex and difficult to find the right people and keep the right people and to train people for the missing skills. Yeah.
So how do you approach leading people like that so that they want to be a part of a culture that is a winning culture, is a culture that is thinking the client first in all things? Because I could imagine like other companies that are leading teams like that can be a really big challenge to keep them on the same page.
Yeah, well, it's so common for us to fall into this hierarchy sense of like, okay, well, I'm a laborer, and then I'm a skilled worker, and then I'm a foreman, and then I'm a project manager, and then one day I'm the boss of the company. It's like this vertical hierarchy thing, and I try to break that down and flip that on its side very early on, so that when I'm talking with someone, doesn't matter if it's the first day of the job, talk to them like a peer and a colleague of like, okay, this is what we want, and then so it's more of a horizontal alignment, because everybody has a boss, and the boss is the customer, right? It's the worker, whoever's scheduling him. We're working for our client, so that client's our boss. Well, guess what? That client has a client. It's their client, and guess what? That's the person buying the T-shirt. So that's you. So it's more circular. That's just the way our economy works. So our goal is to work in alignment and to lead with this. Okay, we're all rowing together in the same direction. So my expectation from you when you show up for work is you're going to take care of the customer, because that's my job and that's your job. We have the same job description. That's take care of the customer. How we take care of the customer is a little bit different, because I wear this hat and you wear that hat, but we try to set that expectation early on so we're all rowing in the same direction.
Have you seen any guys come work for you and join the team, see how you guys do things, and their life, after having gone through some difficulties in the past, their life became measurably better by working with your team?
Yeah, that's one of the most rewarding things that I experience. That's one of the things that I didn't anticipate when I got into this, but once I started to experience that, I was like, that's fantastic. Like, pouring into training, helping someone, and then seeing them grow and the impact that has on their lives and their family, and they get a sense of security, and they get a sense of like they're doing something with their lives. That's one of the most rewarding things.
Can you tell me a story about a person on your team who experienced pretty remarkable life change working for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, one comes to mind. I won't say his name, but great guy. He was just kind of drifting, just no real purpose or direction. We were looking for an extra help on a job, and his brother worked with us, and his brother was really good. I said, yeah, sure, great. If he's his brother, he's got to be good. But, you know, he was struggling to come to work on time, and, you know, had some tough conversations with him. And something clicked in his head, and he's like, he got it. Like, he knew that we were serious, but we cared, and like if he was willing to do the work and put forth the effort, that he was part of the team, and he was on board. Like, I think he bought into the vision, and then he's just been consistent since then. And he recently got a plumbing certification, and he's excited about his career, and he's going in the right direction now.
What's your vision for your industry?
Well, Reinvent the well. I want to. It seems bold because it's such an old industry. It's just putting sticks and rocks together. Like, we've been doing it for thousands of years, right? Just basic building is the oldest thing. But I just want to take it back to that. Like, there's a purpose. There's a reason why we're building this. There's a reason why that we're remodeling this. What is that? And the client matters. So I just want to take it back to that. Take it away from this sort of like selfish mentality of how much can I make on this job, or how can I get a change order on this client, or can I get 10% more from them, back to a place of how can I strategize with a client to help them really fulfill their need and help them to be more successful in what they do. So that way it's more of a long-term, growing, successful, working together situation.
It's great. Jonathan, this has been cool. I'm excited for you. Excited for Duck Soup.
Thank
you guys to take over the world.
Thank you. You too.